up, spooky bitches?
And welcome to Cocktails to Die For.
It's Katie.
And Vicky.
Today we are doing, instead of each of us doing one thing, I'm going to start with a cold case and then you have a case.
Mm-hmm.
Our drink or cocktail, more of a drink, this episode is going to be a wine. So we chose this wine for two reasons. My case is involving a young woman trying to get her master's degree. Yours is involving a teenager.
Right.
We are going to preface this with, we do not condone any underage drinking.
Mm-hmm.
However, we have all been underage once and sipped on that Boone's Farm. Anyway, so the master student, and this young lady, we thought wine would go really well. But it is a pizza red wine. So for our teenager, she probably loved pizza, we're going to assume.
Right.
And for my master student, as me and Vicky know, as master's educated individuals, you stay up really late at night writing your papers, eating pizza, and drinking wine.
And you're poor as shit, so you cannot afford the fancy wines. And, we could have easily gone with a good old Boone's Farm Strawberry Fields. I'm about that life, too, because I loved me some Boone's Farm when I was a teenager. Sorry, Mom. Probably shouldn't have said that on the pod.
I don't know that my mom's listening. Okay, so we're going to try our wine.
Oh.
Cheers. Pizza red. We did have pizza for dinner. I don't know.
Yep, that's some cheap-ass wine, girl.
It's alright.
I'm not a red wine girl anyway.
I am. This is just like, it's like tart.
It's formaldehyde-y.
Yep.
Yeah, not my favorite. I can drink it.
I can drink it.
Honestly, I can drink just about anything.
No, okay, so I am a wine girl. I am a wine alcoholic.
Not a wine girl.
I do wine and I do tequila. That's about it. I'm not an alcoholic, I promise. Yes, my husband, maybe he says something different, but nobody cares. Just kidding, babe, love you. The wine, it is okay. I like more of a fruity wine versus a dry wine.
Yes.
This is
definitely drier.
With a touch of fruit. A touch. It's not...
I don't preface this with, I know nothing about wine. That shit's too dry for me.
No, there's a touch of sweetness to it. If you do like a, I can't say like a Cabernet.
Okay.
That's like super dry.
Okay.
Like you would do like, this has a touch of sweet. I feel like it could go good with pizza.
I'm a big Moscato fan. If I'm going to drink a wine.
I do like a Moscato.
Or a Riesling.
They can't afford Moscato or Riesling.
Right, that's my point. That's my point. But like, if I'm going to drink a wine, that's what I'm drinking because it's more white, sweet, very chill.
So we will have pictures up. This is Pizza Red, the affair between wine and pizza.
I didn't know there was an affair between wine and pizza.
Yes, there is.
Okay, fair enough.
It says this fresh red wine has been specifically developed to match the variety of flavors found in pizza. So, I don't know.
Fair enough. I had pizza, but still not my favorite wine. However, that being said, one of y'all might like this wine, so
try it
have at it.
And have some pizza while you listen to this story.
For reals.
So we're going to start with me, Katie. I am going to do the unsolved murder of Jane Prichard.
Hold, please. Back to our disclaimer. No one under the age of 21 should be drinking.
I forget this every time.
No one under the age of 18 should probably listen to this because we have foul language. Also, do you have any trigger warnings for yours?
Possible rape.
Okay. Mine specifically has rape and sexual assault of a minor. So if you don't want to hear about that, please do not tune in.
Yes.
Because we do not want to offend anybody and we do not want to trigger any kind of emotional turmoil in your life.
Agreed.
Okay, now that that is out of the way, viewer discretion is advised.
Let's do this then.
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm the unsolved murder of Jane Prichard. So I had no idea that this was the thing. Again, because we are very new to doing the podcast, I wanted to stick with something close to home. So this is an unsolved murder that did occur in Delaware, specifically Blackbird State Forest. I am not one. So me and Vicky have had this conversation before, so let's do it in front of viewers. So you know that I love everything witchy. I love everything horror. I love a good witch book. I like to hear a spell. I don't fully believe that they are going to happen. I do think I have a very level head. I believe in medicine, stuff like that.
Right.
However, I do believe in feelings that you can have in certain situations.
Right.
For instance, there was a house me and my husband went and looked at, and this was long, long ago, and I just had this feeling that we had to get out of this house when we were trying to buy a house.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure someone died in that house. We did not purchase that house. Can't confirm to this day because they can't tell you if someone died in the home.
Right.
We went to Salem. I hope me and Vicky one day will do
Yes,
some
I love a good
podcasting
Salem.
on Salem. One of my favorite places ever. If you have not gone, I highly recommend it. I can be your travel agent for Salem and tell you all the fun things. But
I just want to shout out my girls on the Morbid podcast.
yes.
I know that they don't know me because obviously
They don't know me either, but
I'm
they're
just
wonderful.
a nobody out
You
here.
told me about that.
But they are based out of Massachusetts.
Shut the fuck up.
And they're all about
I didn't
the
know that.
Massachusetts. Yes. And so they do a lot of stories. They were at the Lizzie Borden house. They do a lot of like Salem-y things.
Good.
And girl, they
I gotta
make me
backtrack and
want
listen.
to go to Salem
It's
in fall, Halloween, spooky time.
So I will say, don't recommend Halloween time because it is so fucking busy. You can't walk down the street.
I belong to a Salem Facebook group.
Yes.
And
End of September, perfect time because
Yes.
they're starting to rev up the Halloween. Shout out to Morbid Girls. Hopefully
Yes.
they listen to us one day. That would
I
be
hope
amazing. I want to do a collab with them. Let's get there.
That would be awesome.
Would that not? Anyway, so there's a house in Salem. I'm going to research the name one time, tell you guys the story about it. But to this day, I remember telling my husband as we were on this ghost tour and we walked around Salem during the day, like, we are not to go in this house. So just like a feeling, like an inkling. I have lived in Delaware pretty much my whole life. I was not born here, but I was pretty much raised here. Blackbird Forest is that feeling for me. I have never been there. I have driven by it. I feel uncomfortable every time we drive by it. We drive by it often to get to certain places. It's not a good feeling. I remember specifically someone who does photography actually does photography there, and I was like, we were gonna do some photos for the family, and I was like, no, we're not. I can't go in there. Sounds crazy. I understand.
No.
But just a feeling.
I think there are some people that feel energies, for sure.
I am not a fortune teller. I'm not a medium, but I don't know what it is
No,
about
but you
that.
get a vibe.
I just won't go there. And this is one of the reasons.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, makes sense.
Jane Prichard, her case has remained unsolved for 37 years, 10 months, and 5 days. And when I read this case, it did make me very sad. It made me sad for her family. It made me sad for her, which is also why I kind of wanted to do the case, just to give her a shout out and recognition again, because it's been a cold case for so long, and we still don't know who did this.
Yeah, and if you know of any information about this case, please give the state police a call, because
she deserves. Her family
deserves
it.
closure.
She deserves it.
Yeah.
So, Jane Prichard, she's a 28-year-old female. She was a botany student studying to earn her master's degree from the University of Maryland. So that is how she ended up at Blackbird State Forest, and this is an area spanning over 6,000 acres. She was studying specifically give me a moment, and I will tell you what it was, a hog peanut ground bean. So
that's fancy.
Yes.
Is it an actual bean?
No, it's like a plant.
Well, that's craziness.
Maybe a bean? I didn't go into the study of
Okay,
what she was
fair enough.
studying.
I mean, you're not a botany student. I get it.
know.
I would not know anything about this bean, said plant.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
So, she actually lived in Clarksburg, Maryland, and she often made the drive, which is 2 hours and 15 minutes, to Blackbird State Forest. So, for this day,
That's a heck of a drive.
It is. She actually went to her friend's house the night before in Smyrna.
Okay.
Stayed there.
Okay.
Decided to get up bright and early, around 7-ish a.m., go out to Blackbird State Forest, and started to collect data for her research on this hog peanut or ground bean is what it's called. So she was actually collecting minute-by-minute data. So I can't imagine being out there trying to collect this minute-by-minute data, but that's what she was doing. I guess I should preface this with this happened. It was September 20th, 1986.
Okay.
At Blackbird State Forest where she was doing her experiments. So she got up, went out there around 7 a.m. She parked along the Blackbird State Forest Road, set up her research equipment that extended into the surrounding woods about 30 yards. So again, she was doing this very minute-by-minute data for several hours, and then the readings and recordings stopped abruptly right before 10 a.m. that morning, and she was never seen alive again. The authorities came out to investigate the scene and quickly learned that this was most likely a murder scene. Let's talk about how she was discovered first.
I was going to ask how they knew that she was...
Yeah.
Okay.
So, on the evening of September 20th, 1986, a couple from New Jersey had arrived in the Blackbird State Forest for a camping vacation. After they set up their tents, they went for a stroll around the nearby area and stumbled upon a grisly scene, a woman's body. They immediately contacted authorities who came out to investigate. They came out and investigated the scene quickly and learned that this was most likely a murder scene.
Mm-hmm.
Upon investigation, Prichard had been shot in the back with a shotgun.
That's awful.
So it's not accidental. You can tell
right.
from
Obviously,
the get-go.
you don't get shot in the back by accident.
Or an animal attack, which they wanted to rule out.
Right, yeah.
And they found that her body was partially clothed, which suggested a sexual motivation. Okay. So right then and there, her death was ruled a homicide, and murder investigation began. So the area surrounding where Prichard's body was roped off, thoroughly searched by authorities. They used metal detectors. They sifted through the surrounding soil, searching for any clues like shell casings that might point to a specific murder. They did find some undisclosed pieces of evidence that were sent to the FBI for analysis. It's unclear what that evidence was or if it pointed toward any one suspect or weapon. One piece of evidence that they did disclose to the public was they recovered a piece of hair. Now, this occurred in the mid-'80s. DNA testing was brand new. So it wasn't super formed, like they didn't use it all the time. The hair was shipped off to a DNA lab in California for analysis at this point. Okay. So, the next thing. They did decide after this point, so they searched the area, they got the hair, they're going to interview some people. So they were asking around for anyone who might have witnessed or seen anything that morning. They interviewed about 300 people during the course of the investigation.
Smokes.
Yeah, so this was quite a very popular case, as it should be.
Yeah, they weren't just like, oh,
yeah,
did you do it? And then moved on and said, oh, nobody did it.
But the other thing that gets me, like 300 people. So where did you find these 300 people? Because there's no log of who's in and out of this forest. I was going to say, were they all people that had frequented the forest, or were they just people that she knew? Like, I mean, obviously, you don't have those answers because... Trying to
police records.
Yes, trying to deep dive on this case was hard.
Yeah,
there's not
it's
a ton
unsolved,
of information.
so there's not a big like news article, things like that.
So, like I said, they ended up interviewing about 300 people during the course of the investigation. Police also submitted the shotgun pellets to DuPont County technicians, trying to see if they could learn any additional information about the murder weapon. There was actually someone who came forward. So there was a hunter there that morning, saying he last saw Prichard alive around 10 a.m. on the morning she was murdered. The hunter was able to describe Prichard's clothing, the vehicle, and the scientific equipment she was carrying to conduct her experiments, making him a good witness.
Wow.
The hunter stated that he'd been hunting squirrels in the area near Prichard and had seen another hunter nearby.
That's some common shit here in Delaware, hunting squirrels.
Why not? We got taxidermy all over. The other man was supposedly...
Ooh, they were taxidermy.
No, I know.
These people be eating squirrels.
They do, but then sometimes they'll send the rest out. I feel like I drive past so many taxidermy places, is what I'm saying. The other man was supposedly the last person that was seen near Prichard before she was murdered. So,
I think he's making it up.
We'll get to that. So the suspect identified was this unknown hunter that the witness described was seen as a prime suspect in Prichard's murder. He was described as a Caucasian male, had a beard, and was about 5'9" or 5'10" with a medium build. So, any man, really.
Wait, when did this happen?
It happened in...
87? 89?
1980. Why you gotta ask me these questions?
Well, because I'm wondering if it was
86.
Steven from our first episode.
Oh, shit. 1986. But she's not a sex worker. Off her for
Maybe
40.
he rolled up to Blackbird State Forest and decided he was going to start there, and we didn't know. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, so 86. Oh no, we're gonna get to that. Hold your thoughts. So he had a beard and was 5'9". We went over that. He was wearing a brown jacket and blue jeans. They did a composite sketch that was made of a supposed hunter and distributed to the public, hoping to find out who he was. Here's your sketch. I feel like that was...
Why are his eyeballs so far apart?
Maybe... I'm not going to say what I was thinking. That wasn't appropriate.
We'll put this on the pod.
I feel like we need to.
But I don't...
Also, they need a better sketch artist.
I mean, 80s. The 80s of it all.
So... we'll put this up for you to see if you know who this man is with this triangular face. So despite the story that the witness had told authorities, police were suspicious of the man that came forward.
Yeah.
Because he has all this information.
Right.
Including what experimental equipment she had.
Right.
Like, how fucking close were you to know?
Right.
The clothes she was wearing.
Creeper.
So, they ended up charging him with first-degree murder and possession of a deadly weapon in the commission of a felony. He was held without bail.
Wait. They just be charging people?
He's the closest one to the case at this point, and the only one who has details.
Okay.
So, the DNA testing results came back from the California lab, finally. Because remember, they got some DNA of hair. They showed no match to the witness.
Right.
For that reason, he was released and charges were dropped against him.
Okay.
I want to say that I did read in my research that he was in jail for up to 10 months. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I read.
That's rude.
Correct.
If it's...
And then just dropped.
Right. Just like, oops. Sorry.
So then he was interviewed and asked, like, what would you say to someone trying to help in this type of situation? To which he stated, I would never make that mistake again.
Wow.
My advice is don't get involved. He lost everything due to this arrest. He lost his
went
job.
to jail.
He lost his apartment. I mean, everything. So, he says don't help people. So, after the case against Squirrel Hunter was dropped, the case of Jane Prichard murder has been cold. There have been few updates, although authorities have been submitting what DNA evidence they were able to recover at the time to modern DNA labs. So far, none of them have yielded any results that could point to who murdered her. In my research, I did find out that there is going to be Newcastle County that will be starting up an investigation regarding the cold case, which is great. Back in 2015, this is coming about. So, there are no updates from them. They recently they did a cold case unit for Newcastle County Police Department, and this is one of the cases that they decided to pick up, which I think is amazing.
Right.
Her family goes on to say, mainly she did have two brothers, that it brings up a lot of history for their family, of course.
Right, of course.
They hope that they can find some answers for her. And then they go into describe in that article how she was, and it sounds like she was just a really great laid-back person who was just trying to study and get her degree and do great things.
Some plants.
She did, but she also just sounded very minimal. Just wanted to become educated, which I think in 86 is pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
Because, I mean,
that wasn't a huge time for women going to college and things like that.
And she was just simply out there trying to study. What she was specifically studying, which I don't think I mentioned, was, did I say how the leaves moved towards it? So that's what she was specifically studying, which is why she needed the minute-by-minute data, was how the leaves responded to the sun and how they moved. So we now have better information on that.
Right.
However, this was her research project and her baby, and I just think it's really sad. And I hope they find out who did this. I hope the family gets closure, and I hope she gets dressed.
Yeah, that is really sad.
So theories. That's our next
Yeah.
part. So I'm going to say this with, again, it is a theory. I have no evidence. I don't know for sure what happened. They discredited this man, that he did not do this. They cannot find any evidence against him. I think it is weird that there was only one witness who spoke up. and he had very detailed
info.
Yeah, on her. What she was wearing, her equipment, all the things, her car.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I feel like in the same vein, like he knew a lot about what was going on, and while the DNA didn't link him to her, who knows who else's DNA could have been on her?
Mm-hmm.
Like, could it have been one of the people that found her?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know.
Like, it also makes me think about the couple who found her.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know anything about that. And, like, what if it was just a stray hair? Like, what if someone did happen upon her body after the murder and didn't want to get involved?
Right.
Because there's a lot of people that have no desire to get involved. And then they ran off because they didn't want to get involved. And that's what the DNA was from.
Right.
Again, we'll probably never know the full details because Home Skillet Hunter is probably, I don't know, maybe he did, maybe he not dead, I don't know.
There is theories that could this have been an accidental shooting?
Like she was in the woods and a hunter accidentally shot her, and then, because it was a shotgun.
It was a shotgun.
So that's not typically the weapon of choice. It could have been an accidental shooting because she probably wasn't wearing orange. Like when you go out in the woods and you're hunting, the goal is to wear something bright and colorful. Mm-hmm. It sounds like if she was a minimalist, big earthy boho vibes I'm getting from her, then she might have. I hope she wasn't wearing that white ass dress in the woods though.
I feel like that was like just a pretty prom.
I know, I'm just saying, like that would have gotten dirty. But I'm just saying, like, she was probably wearing like very, very like down to earth clothes, and you and I both love a good black. So you're blending in the forest.
Yeah, and it was September, so you're chilly.
Right.
But so that was another theory. The only issue I see with that theory is she was partially clothed. So if it was accidental, what happened?
Well, maybe they took off her pants because, or whatever part of her.
It doesn't say.
Right. Maybe they unclothed her to make it look like something more sinister. I don't know. That's
a hard secret to live with if it was accidental.
Yeah.
I don't know what type of prosecution would get involved if it was truly an accidental, you shot and killed someone.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, you kept that secret for so long, it's no longer an issue of it being an accidental death. Like, you've gone too far at that point. Like, you know what I mean? It's just way too far.
Yeah. So. I want to say I hope that there is information about the case that police have not released.
Yeah.
That will hopefully help them find a solution one day. So, hopefully with this new cold case investigation unit, they will find some answers for this family and for her.
Right.
But yeah, I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was very interesting where it happened. And I'm honored I got to research about it.
Oh. I mean, I felt really sad for her family.
I do.
She was just trying to live her life and...
I was shot in the back. Also, what a, cowardly way to shoot someone if it was intentional. Fucking back.
Well, I mean, if they tried to sexually assault her and she tried to run...
Good for her.
I'm just saying, like that.
Maybe she got away.
Yeah.
But unfortunately it ended this way.
Yeah. I don't know, man. So mine is not any less heavy. Sorry. We'll do a palate cleanser
I feel like mine was going to be way lighter compared to yours.
I mean, not necessarily. Mine's just... So mine is very close to me because I remember this story from when I grew up. So, I graduated... I don't really care if people know how old I am, but I graduated in 2004.
Okay.
So I graduated from high school in 2004. This girl was a year younger than me, literally a year younger than me. Her birthday's 2 days before mine.
Oh.
But a year younger than me. And I remember when I was graduating, getting ready to graduate high school, I was in 11th grade when this happened, and hearing about it. And just thinking, what a tragedy for someone so young. So I did my research on Kimberly Holton. She was born on November 4th, 1986 in Kent County, Delaware. It didn't go into detail about where in Kent County, Delaware she was born. Unfortunately, she was born to a mother who was a drug addict, and she bounced around from relatives' home to relatives' home, and she was kind of pushed off between family members and friends and things like that until about her 10th grade year in high school. Then she went into a foster home with Ronald and Laura Michaels, and their daughter, Heather. Okay. So she got along well, but again, she had some trauma from her past, so she was known to run away from time to time.
Yeah.
She did partake in, some alcohol and, stuff like that teenagers do. And again, she came from a very troubled past. She wasn't super confident in her life because she's been shuffled from one place to one place.
She doesn't know what to trust.
It's very traumatizing for a child when you don't feel secure in your home. Mm-hmm. So she's living with this foster family, and on September 29th, 2003, she left the house and didn't return. Again, they didn't think anything of it because she had done this before. She had gone to a boyfriend's house. She, all of these things probably went through their mind. Well, maybe she's with her boyfriend, or maybe she's with, a friend. Maybe she just is out at a party. Whatever it was, they didn't take it too seriously. However, the next day they decided she typically at least would come home and let us know, so they reported her missing.
Okay.
Nobody heard anything. They didn't find her over the next couple of days. And on October 8th, a couple was fishing in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of New Jersey, and they discovered a decomposing body about 4 miles from the coast of Jersey. The body had been bound in duct tape, had a blanket wrapped around it, and there was a chain attached to her feet. Autopsy revealed that not only did she have, lots of damage from being in the water, but she also had skull fractures at the base of her skull that were consistent of a fall from at least 5 stories.
What the fuck?
Right. How do you end up in the water in New Jersey from a fall
from 5 stories?
From 5 stories when you know as well as I do, Jersey and Delaware are flat as fuck. We ain't got no cliffs. You ain't cliff diving. And also, you got a chain wrapped around you. You're bound. Obviously, this is foul play.
Right.
They were able to ID her with her fingerprints as Kimberly Holton, the girl who had gone missing from Dover, Delaware. So, throughout the course of the investigation, they were able to track the chains specifically that had been tied to her ankles to Lowe's in Dover. The Lowe's in Dover. On security footage, they were able to see 2 young men buying these chains and cinder blocks.
Oh, that's not suspicious.
Not suspicious at all. So one of the men, who was unnamed, came forward and confessed that he was with his friend, Jacob Jones, who was 20 years old, and they had gone to buy these items for Jacob's home gym. He was putting together his own home gym, and he was going to make this out of chains and cinder blocks.
I bet he fucking was.
I mean, again, very not plausible. You and I can poke a million holes in this story, but at the time, obviously, they have to go through the process. This is what this kid said.
Right.
He said it was for his friend, blah, 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 blah. Just roll with it. So Jacob Jones was a 20-year-old student at Dell State University, and he was also the boyfriend of Heather, who happened to be Kimberly's foster sister. Ding, ding, ding.
Are you fucking kidding me?
He was also a part-time flight instructor for Delaware Air Force Base.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So on October 17th, he was questioned, and he admitted that he had bought these things to create his home gym. Okay? I bought that stuff, but I'm making a home gym. Well, clearly I think he realized the police officers did not believe him.
Correct.
And on October 20th, He confessed to his father that him and a friend killed Kimberly, and then he went upstairs and shot himself and killed himself.
The dad or
Jacob.
Jacob. Okay.
He killed himself after confessing what happened to his father.
Okay.
So, his father obviously promptly went and told the authorities that Jacob confessed that him and his friend Michael Kaiser, who was 23 at the time, had been the ones to kill Kimberly. So on October 27th, they brought Michael in for questioning. He admitted that he went to pick Kimberly up at her home on September 29th with the ruse of telling her that he knew that she was having problems at home with her foster family, and also that she was having problems and fighting with Heather, which was true. She did have a very rocky relationship with Heather. She didn't like Jacob. She told Jacob when he was at the house with Heather that he was a nerd, that she didn't like him. She made fun of him. Now keep in mind, she's 16 years old.
Yeah.
She's bullying a 20-year-old.
Yeah, like who the fuck cares? Grow up hair.
Right. But I think this was Jacob's motive and effort to smooth things out between him and Heather, because Heather and him were arguing because of Kimberly. So Michael drove her to a local motel, which at the time happened to be the Dover Budget Inn, which has now been renamed the Dover Inn to make it more classy. It's not classy, folks. If you're not from Dover and you're not from Delaware, you do not know that this place is the pits, for the best way to put it. It is not a classy establishment, and it is frequented by the, how do I put it? Less than classy folk. I feel like some transactions go on there.
We can't say for sure.
I do not know for a positive, but I have never been there, and I have no desire to go to there. I drive by it, and I think,
Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
oh God, please don't come near my car. So anyway, when he got her to the motel, Jacob confronted her and said what he needed to say. Both he and Michael raped her. Michael made it clear that it was at separate times because they didn't get down like that. Mm-hmm. Then they each separately took turns showering after raping her. And when Michael got out of the shower, Jacob told Michael to hold down her legs, and he smothered her with a pillow. So Michael claimed that Jacob threatened him and his girlfriend if he didn't help with the murder. He said they then bound her in duct tape, wrapped her in chains, attached the chains to a cinder block, wrapped her in a blanket, and put her in the trunk of Jacob's car. Jacob, now this is all speculation because Jacob is dead, so we cannot confirm this, but based on the police investigation, what they assume happened was Jacob then chartered a plane from the Air Force Base, because records indicate that he took off around 11:45 p.m. on September 30th and returned around 1 a.m.
How the fuck did he charter a plane from the base?
Well, he was a flight instructor.
Oh, I guess he had access.
So he had access,
yeah.
He then drove the plane over where he was going to dump her. He dumped her body out of the plane, which they actually did a whole simulation showing how, not showing, but the police officers did a simulation proving that he could fly the plane and boot her with his foot out of said plane. So he was just a callous motherfucker.
That's insane.
Right.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Could never.
Well, I mean, obviously we're not murderers. But yeah.
I don't even know the concept.
Just the lack of respect for all human life. Over some dumb shit with your girlfriend's foster sister. Anyway, he dumped her body, hoping that the cinder blocks would then drag her down and her body wouldn't be found. However, he's a dumbass. And when cinder blocks fall from that far, the water is like glass, and the cinder block shattered on impact.
Yeah.
So obviously her body floated to the surface. Also, they were able to find a receipt in his dorm room from the motel that was dated September 30th. Okay? So, pretty much they got it wrapped. They know who did it. Fun times. They're going to do their thing. Jacob obviously cannot stand trial because he is dead. Michael also attempted to kill himself in prison with a set of shoelaces, but he didn't get that right. In November of 2004, Michael was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He still remains incarcerated at the James T. Vaughn Correctional Center in Smyrna, Delaware.
That's fucking awful.
Right.
That's a heavy-ass case.
Right.
I didn't
That's
even
what
know
I'm
that
saying.
was a thing.
I did because I remember the story on it. I remember hearing it on the news, and I know several people who worked at the correctional facility at the time, and so it was like a big deal, because that was such an awful thing. And child molesters, and pedophiles, and people who fuck with kids don't last long in prison because the other prisoners find out. And for some reason, the murderers don't like the people that fuck with kids. Which, I've never understood that mentality. I don't like any of them. I obviously don't like people who mess with kids, but, how are you better than the other because you just didn't kill a kid? I just don't understand it. It's still irrational to take another person's life in general, or to hurt them in any way, shape, or form because you're an asshole. But either way, I digress. I could be on that soapbox for a long time. But anyway, guys, so that was heavy shit, and unfortunately, the next episode is not going to be any less heavy. So we'll have to do a spooky one at the beginning of September, because our next episode is going to be pretty heavy shit, for sure.
But we'll have a great cocktail.
We will have a great cocktail. I'm excited to try that one.
I am, too.
So, anyway, guys.
Stay spooky.
And stay safe.